That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Get Out Your Handkerchiefs, a 1978 film by Bertrand Blier, which was just released on Blu-ray, courtesy of the Cohen Media Group on August 27th, 2019. Well,
this is an interesting film.
to say the least.
It won for Best Foreign Language
It won the Best Foreign Language Film in 1978.
at the Academy Awards.
The Academy Awards. It kind of really jettisoned Bertrand Blier, his career. Before this, he did a film called Going Places that got him a lot of attention, kind of an anarchic road trip movie starring the two same leads in this, Gérard Depardieu and Patrick Dewaere. And that movie is actually just being remade by John Turturro and comes out next year. It's called The Jesus Rolls.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
So this film is about a woman played by
Carole Laure, who is Canadian, actually. She's from Montreal.
Okay.
And quickly, since I don't think we'll talk about her a lot, she's
Not your chance, girl.
She's got an interesting resume. She was in a Sweet Movie by Dusan Makayev. I'm saying his name wrong, which is
It's called Sweet Movie?
It's called Sweet Movie.
Oh.
It's a pretty outrageous movie.
Okay.
Victory, John Huston's Victory. And since she's from Canada, I thought I should mention Strange Shadows in an Empty Room, which is kind of a cult classic, which we also have a copy of.
Great.
But yes, Carole Laure is the female lead.
She's the lead. She is married to Gérard Depardieu's character.
Mm-hmm. Raoul.
Raoul. So the opening scene is them having dinner, and it's obvious she's unhappy.
Breakfast, actually.
Oh, they're having breakfast. I'm sorry. They're having breakfast. It's obvious she's unhappy, and he tells her he wants her to be happy, and he thinks she'll be happy by being with another man.
So he notices another man that's been eyeing her up across the restaurant, Patrick Dewaere, and he said, I'll give you that man. And
so he picks some dude out of the restaurant to be with his wife. It was very indecent proposal.
Yes, very, very French.
Because he gives him money too.
Yes, he does.
So,
well, to pay the bill.
Sure.
He's I'm going to leave, you pay the bill.
Yes. So he believes that if his wife can be with another man, that might put some pep in her step and she'll fall back in love with him.
But the absurdity of that quickly kind of reveals itself.
Yes.
And Patrick Dewaere, who plays Stéphane, it's the only thing that's going to make her happy is if you put a bun in her oven, basically. So then that's kind of where they decide to go. They need to get her pregnant.
Yes. So about half of the film is the two of them sort of navigating that. They end up at a summer camp. Well, even before that, another tenant in the building, because the three of them end up living together.
Yes.
Sharing her. A tenant in the building ends up coming over, and he's thrown into the mix.
Played by Michel Serrault of La Cage aux Folles.
So the four of them end up going to a summer camp?
No, I don't think Michel Serrault doesn't go.
The throuple ends up going to summer camp.
Because Dewaere's character
is a school teacher or something.
Blue collar kids.
Yeah.
Which
is notable because the summer camp, which features these, children of blue collar families, there is one wealthy kid there whose parents sent him there because they believe one day he'll be a boss. So he needs to know how to interact with his subordinates. So this 13-year-old boss ends up catching the eye of Solange. Who is played by, what's her name again?
Carole Laure.
Laure. Laure.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So this film takes a turn. I think it's pretty provocative, but it gets very...
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, because she ends up being sexual with this 13-year-old boy and falling in love with him.
And getting pregnant.
Getting pregnant by him.
And it's playing by an actual, I think he might have been 13 or 14. It's his first film, and he was credited as Riton, who I thought looked a lot like Adele Exarchopoulos, which made me more uncomfortable.
I'll have to look that up. But
From Blue is the Warmest Color.
Okay, I didn't see that. So she ends up getting pregnant. Mm-hmm. There's some other little subplots, but that's kind of the end of the film, is she's pregnant by him and kind of moves on.
Yeah, but basically kind of ends up being the most well-placed character in the film. she's kind of the power player.
Yeah, so there are so many things to talk about, and we only have a few minutes to do it. I think there are a lot of really interesting themes and a lot of really interesting conversations that could be had. I think at first watch, like, you know, for the first 10 minutes, I was very frustrated with her and just the notion. It's a very sort of misogynistic storyline. And
it seems to be self-aware of it.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's why I think it's so good.
Like a doctor that because she has all these dizzy spells and passes out. And this doctor that visits her that only usually treats sailors says something like, a woman's nerves are like the weather. No one understands how either of them work.
There are some really good lines.
Followed by, like, I treat sailors and I've learned to think before I speak. Yeah, it's very engaging. If not sometimes laugh out loud funny, just very, compelling.
It's a fun, provocative film with a lot of things to talk about.
Well, and ironically,
I think probably the biggest theme is what you mentioned. Like, she ends up, you know, initially as the audience, we think like this poor woman's being dragged around like a doll.
Like just an object.
Like an object for these men to use, but they seem so concerned for her, wanting to make her happy, but then really have no concern for what she thinks.
Right.
Ultimately, she is in control. There is some symbolism with her crocheting. Is that what you call that?
Yeah.
Or knitting?
She's knitting.
Whatever. It's two metal pointy things and some yarn. Yeah. And she is doing this throughout the film. And it turns out that for all of the men who she is essentially like controlling, infecting, destroying, she makes them a sweater. Mm-hmm. So ultimately all the men end up wearing the sweater she's fashioned, like the same sweater for all of them. I think the movie could be talked about like ad nauseum. There's so much going on.
I just can't believe it can never be made here, and the fact that it even won an Oscar is kind of amazing to me. But
yeah, when you said that before we started it, I'm like, what? But I can definitely see why it would be a surprise for 1978. One thing that I mentioned is after we finished the film was my biggest issue with the movie Good Boys was that, you know, it's trying to be provocative, but it doesn't really push any boundaries, right? And this film, I mean, it's going for it. Mm-hmm. I mean, we see this boy touching this adult woman, seeing her nude, asking her for sex, explaining why he should have it in a very effective way. And I thought, wow, this is so provocative without being like gimmicky or vulgar. Meanwhile, a movie like Good Boys featuring 13-year-old boys tried so hard to accomplish something that was managed quite elegantly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the 13-year-old boy in this film is very sophisticated.
Well, yeah, it's as compared like a juxtaposition to these overbearing child men that are trying to have this throuple with her. You know, he's the most.
Yes,
he's the one
he's the most mature and sophisticated, while she's dealing with 3 other men who are 3 times his age.
But also allows her to, as the older person in their relationship, have control over him as well.
Yeah, so there are a lot of motifs in there that could be talked about, but I think it's a really rich, funny, entertaining, provocative film. I would give it 3.5 out of 5 stars.
I would give it 3.5 out of 5. You know, I saw it years ago in LA, the Silent Theater, which is now defunct because of rape and other sexual harassment things that were going on there. But they had a lot of great retrospectives, and this was one of them. And I saw a handful of Blier films for the first time, and I remember walking out of this being like, I can't believe what I just saw. But I'm happy to see Cohen Media Group bringing it back. I think there's a lot of other Blier films. He'd like to use Depardieu and Dewaere a lot. And Dewaere in this movie is obsessed with Mozart. And there's this, do you remember they talk about how he died at the age of 35 and what a waste that was. And that was how old Patrick Dewaere was when he killed himself as well. Okay. But yeah, I recommend Going Places. Ménage, which Blier did in '86 with Depardieu and Miu Miu and Michel Blanc about a bisexual criminal that seduces a husband and wife.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. He's an exciting director, I think.
Do you have anything else?
No.
All right. Bye.
Bye.